The Method Actor Speaks. Today we're going to talk about Frank&Ava with the director Galindo and Rico. Pronounce your last name so I don't screw it up.
Simonini.
Simonini. What a beautiful Italian name. All right, here's the photo. Now we're going to talk. Now Kelly's a member of the Actors Studio, and Rico should be, and we'll, hopefully soon will be. So we want to get talking now to you guys. And thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And they're doing the show.
Yeah.
So let's, what brought you two together to do this project?
Fate and universal collision. So.
I actually, Will Manis, who I worked with on Bridge, approached me with this script, and I loved it. Did it at the PD unit. And I couldn't find anyone at the Actor Studio that would fit a Frank&Ava. So I was going, Will, you know, because they prefer us to cast from the studio.
Right.
But, you know, I said, this is not easy. So Will says, you know what, I have an actor I've worked with. What did he work with you on?
Berlin Cowboys.
Berlin Cowboys. And Stephanie was on that project too, or another one?
No, Stephanie was on the other projects at the
Okay.
Right Act.
So but from the Right Act, he had worked with Rico and Stephanie. So I met him. I said, great, let's do it. So we did it at the PD unit. And then after that, I went into approaching my producer.
Now the PD unit we're talking about is Actors Studio.
Yeah,
PD.
Actor Studio, Playwright Directors
right.
Unit. So we
How did that feel for you, Rico, to be working at the Actors Studio?
Well, that actually wasn't the first time I read at the PD unit. A lot of the writers and directors, I'm on their radar, which is good.
Right.
So, but it was fun. It's always great to get up there in front of people and to try to put it out there and see what they have to say about it. So it was a great, and to do this role was, it's funny, in the play he says, you know, he's right for my Joe. I mean, but I'm totally, Frank is me, given the fact where I grew up.
Right, in New York, and yes.
Yeah, so it was great to do that.
One of the things I admire about you, Rico, is that, you know, your love for the craft. You know, you really, I mean, I know when you're professional is something different. I don't know if you want to speak about that or not.
We'll get to it, but yeah.
But one of the things I really respect about you is that it's a gift that people can, you know, what you do is a gift. But to be an actor and to promote the theater, and you're very close with TJ Casanova, who another person who really loves the theater and projects it, and you, Kelly, who remember the studio and really love to teach and get that word out. We'll talk later about your trip to China and everything, but I just wanted to let you know that I am a big fan of yours, both of you, really. But I mean, and I love the passion of actors, and it's not something that you see every day here. You see passion for people who want to be movie stars, but not love the craft.
I agree. I think it's about the work. It's about being true to the work, true to yourself, and really creating something that from yourself that wasn't there before. And I think you're right. A lot of people come to Hollywood to be famous, and they want to be on screen, but they're really not artists. And I think if they focus on the art, they get more satisfaction, because a lot of this stuff in this town is rejection anyway. But
Right.
you get more satisfaction of creating art and feeling satisfied with what you've done. And if people want to buy it or pay money for it or put you on a big screen, that's great. But I think if you're happy with just being true to the words and true to yourself, I think.
I ask you to speak up a little louder because I know it's going to be the sound.
Okay.
Actually, if you want to hold that mic, and this mic here, just one of you hold it, it'll probably pick up the sound a lot better.
Okay.
So let's go on more about you too, Kelly, about the both of you, and feel free to cut into each other. Because this is about you guys.
I want to express my respect for Rico. He, because we already we started in June?
Well, rehearsing before that.
Oh, when did the play open?
June, opened in June. We started rehearsing in April.
Okay, we've been on the play a long time.
Long time.
But still, Rico comes to me to get notes after a show. Most actors don't want to hear notes, you know, after it opens. For me, that is clear of his desire to get better, to, you know, his respect for the craft. Most actors don't do that, so I respect Rico for that. I was away, as I told you, in China. I'm sure I was thinking, oh, they'll be happy that I'm gone, and maybe my actress was, but I think that Rico was looking forward to me getting back to hear notes, I think.
Yeah, no, of course it was. No, it's always about filling every moment, you know, and I always be asking Kelly, you know, was there
How do you
anything-
do that, Rico? How do you fill the moments when she's not there? How do you, as an actor, do that?
Well, even when he's on stage, I'm not up there with him.
Right,
He has
no,
to
I'm-
fill
so I'm
those
saying-
moments.
Right.
But
So,
how
I
do
mean,
you-
so the idea is to be truthful to what's happening in that moment and what's happening with your fellow actor, and really be true to what the emotion is and what the behavior is, and try to really let that take over you, and not think about, well, I have to say this next or this next. It's about, this is the emotional ride I'm going through. This is what's needed right now. This is what I'm feeling. This is what's being pulled or pushed or and just be fearless to let that happen without feeling you have to push it and force it, just letting it, and that's how we feel, and so while you're doing that, it's almost like you're Jackson Pollock just flicking paint on a canvas. Pollock's not stopping every 5 minutes and saying, "Does this look good enough?" He's just doing it. It's just going in his emotion, just raging and throwing, and then afterwards it's for other people to look back and say, "Jackson, you did something amazing here," or I see this, or I see. So you have to just be free and to let that come out. Just let that just be. I always say, be like the animal. Just be wounded, be happy, be raging, be attracted. Just let it happen with each moment, with each instance, from moment to moment. And so then you go back to somebody who's watching it, saying, you know, did I leave? They leave everything. They fill everything. They leave anything on. They turn over every stone. Did I miss anything? Or was there a moment where the inner voice, you know, may have stopped me? Or so these are the things that you know, that the director will look at. And as an actor, you ignore that. You just go with what's in here and you try to be truthful and connected.
And good.
Well, you know, I think it's a huge testament to Rico in the sense that to be open to notes, because Rico himself has directed, has produced, teaches, and he's a doctor. And so to be able to, and it's not, I don't know if humbleness is the word, I just think that he's sincerely truthful and hungry to get better as an actor and to do his best. But if somebody's a doctor or a teacher or a director themselves, I think that is not an easy thing to turn over. But he seems to do it so effortlessly, so I don't know where that comes from, but it's a good thing.
Well, what he was saying there, I gathered, he just lets it happen. And what the consequences are, you'll let him know if it worked or not. I do that as an actor myself.
No, I was
just
talking
do it.
about him being open for notes.
And I'm going to ask you, as a director, how do you do, you're an actor first, how do you direct actors,
Well, I think
if I may ask?
my directing style just comes from, you know, the studio and the craft that we've learned, which is all about truth. I think one of my talents as an actress, and you probably could know because you've seen me, but is I'm a performer. You know, I'm theatrical, but with this training, the actor studio training,
Uh-huh.
and I was lucky enough to study with Lee before he passed away. It allowed me to perform and be theatrical, but in truth. And I have a tendency still to, you know, I was a dancer when I was younger, and I was a choreographer, so I'm a performer by just my beginning talents and from habit. But I started studying very young. I was probably 18 when I started studying at the Lee Strasberg Institute. So I've managed to bring those things together, and I think my work's getting.
But as a member of the studio, now you know the studio work. Now you have a pretty large cast. Now, what is that like to work with people who are not familiar with the work?
Right. Well, I'm lucky that it is different, but I'm lucky that Rico's been exposed to it. He has
Right.
worked around other actor studio members, and he's interested in that. So that there's no wall between us because he's so open and hungry to be around studio members and the craft. But you know, it is harder, and I teach this to my directors, that they'll have all kinds of actors, so they better learn every craft that there is, because bottom line is a director's bridge of communication is to be able to speak to an actor if they're a method actor and to a Meisner actor if they're a Meisner actor. What matters is the end result, and it doesn't matter how you get there.
Right.
So, you know, I teach that, and then I have to walk it if I actually. And in this production, I had 2 different types of actors, and it is a little more challenging.
Now Rico's part. Now you're playing Frank Sinatra. I mean, give me a brand. That's every Italian's dream. And they people who want to be Italian.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
you got Darby now running around singing Sinatra. You have this one. To play Sinatra, how did you go about that? If we can find out a little
Well,
bit about that.
it's interesting because a lot of people ask me, how can you play somebody as iconic as Frank? And you don't. In my mind, it's not. I'm playing this icon. I'm playing a kid from Jersey who grew up with a very dominant mother, who in the biography says he didn't know if she was going to hug him or beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, right.
And I can relate to that, having an Italian dominant mom myself. So you find the very essence. This is a kid from Jersey that grew up in this way, and had some insecurities. Frank was a short guy. He used to get teased, but he had this gift, this voice. And eventually, when he was as he grew, it was almost like the reputation for Frank was he was a bit of a bully, a bit of a tough guy. But it came from this childhood. So you understand the man and finding where the similarities are between he and I. So I grew up in Brooklyn. I'm Italian from a dominant Italian mom in a pretty connected neighborhood, same as Frank. In fact, when I was a kid, I got to meet Frank because my dad took me around, and I got to meet Frank, in one of these joints my father hung out in. So I knew the life, I knew the people, the environment. So really, it was finding out that moment in Frank's life that the play talks about, what was going on with him, and it was a moment of insecurity, a moment of depression, and in this play dealing with an impossible woman. So you always go back to yourself, So where have I been in those situations, and by reading the biographies and understanding the details, but then flipping around in your own, trying to find your own life and your own experience, where to draw from, and then and it just comes from that. It's not like I'm trying to imitate, but I'm just trying to understand this man and say, okay, I could connect to these people. So, it's not like Daniel Day-Lewis trying to be Lincoln and he becomes Lincoln, and it's just a totally different stretch for him because he's Irish and Lincoln,
Different
Lincoln.
country, everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but this is someone that's actually
You can relate to.
I can relate to the guy. So there's enough there. So all you really have to do is understand. For me to understand and connect to the things that are similar, and the wants and the insecurities, the pain, and then some of the attitude. And I've known. And the thing is, I've had people who've known Frank. Actually, I met him as a kid. I've had, not the cat's out of the bag, I've had patients who dated Frank and gave me their Frank stories, and then you kind of see where they come from, and so I drew from all that to get this. Here's a guy with not much of an education, that had a tough childhood, that gained fame, and he was in a way, he was like a wannabe tough guy. Because he wasn't really a mob guy, but he hung out with that, and then he adopted that because that's as he got more big in the entertainment industry, and then he became he became a kind of his own mob guy in a way.
Well, he was in the sense of Hollywood.
Right.
I met him at the Premier East in Westchester County back in the
Westchester
70s.
County, up in Tarrytown. That's the joint. I know the joint. That's what that.
I remember the night it was every wise guy in New York was there.
Yeah.
That's all it was, and FBI agents.
There you go. So that's when I met him around all that. So yeah, there you go. So
I was there too.
Yeah. So you get that world, and you get where Frank was in those people's eyes, and how that kind of emboldened him to be, you know, and so you get that. So
Yes.
that's kind of like how I was able to find him, because he was somebody I grew up around that.
And also that world gives you a lot of respect.
Yes. Yes.
And it gives you respect for the talent that we do. So as an actor, I go back to that myself, my background. And from that I learned nothing but respect. And that's what I have for actors. That are actors, not movie stars.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's what it's all about.
Also, this play, I mean, no matter what an actor, Rico has to, and he got cast because he's so similar to Frank without even, you know, yet being in rehearsals. That's why he got cast. But this play is a very specific time of Frank's life. It was when, you know, so it's easier almost to focus. It's kind of like, you know, the film My Week with Marilyn, you know, the film,
Yeah.
which Michelle Williams was brilliant in. But it's almost because her life was so huge. Frank Sinatra's life is so huge.
Yeah, Ava
you know,
Gardner's
it's a lot,
life.
right? But this is a specific time when Frank Sinatra was broke, when is, you know, so people wonder why he has this unbelievable loyalty to Ava Gardner through the rest of his life, because she was there when she was supporting him. That's
Right.
why. She helped him get from here to the film From Here to Eternity. So the play is so specific in order to, again, that's not saying you're not working on Frank, because, you know, luckily Rico is almost Frank already. But what we have to concentrate in the play is all what he was going through in that time.
And how do you keep that? You know, that focus, and with the other actors too coming there. Now the Ava, if you want to tell a little bit about her, from what I understand, Ava was like the love of his life outside of his kids.
Yeah.
You know, that was, you could understand that because she did carry him, and he never forgot.
Yeah.
He did a lot of good for a lot of people, which has never been
Yeah.
publicized. You
No,
know.
I know friends of mine that Frank paid for his wedding and honeymoon. You know, because he was a Italian kid from Jersey, and he met him. He was endeared to him, and so you get married. And the next thing you know, his wedding is all paid for.
Yeah.
You know, and he would do anonymous gifts too, just like pay people's bills, take care of things. He was very magnanimous. I mean, that's the way he was.
Well, it's a very Italian thing too, because I ran into a lot of people from Italian Harlem, and if you were from Italian Harlem, they always looked out for you, no matter who you know, if you were Italian. And till this day, if you're Italian, I'm on your side until you show me wrong. You know, I don't know if that's racist or prejudice or whatever it is, but I'm for Italians first. You know,
Yeah,
I've always
Jewish
been that way.
are, why not?
Why not?
Why not
But
Italian?
yeah, it is. It's a thing we're brought up
Yeah.
and very proud. You know that we can do that. So, and what are you going to do with this? Where do you want to go with this project, if I could ask?
Oh wow.
Well, Rico would like, he has people looking at it that he might have it produced in Palm Springs and Las Vegas, which are perfect venues for that, for Frank and
You're
Ava.
talking about touring the country.
Yeah, maybe touring it, taking it to Palm Desert, which
That's a great idea.
that was his backyard, in Vegas, and you know, of course, you always think about film, but for now we're looking at maybe taking it on tour. But it'd be a great film if you could focusing on that one period.
Live recordings of it would be great, and
My
also this would be a
desire
great, if I may. I have a friend, Lydia Vitali. She's from Rome, Italy. I don't know if you ever met her at Actors Studio, but she does the one-woman show on Anna Mangani.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's doing it now in Italy and Rome, and
Good for her.
she took it to the Italian neighborhood. She did it on Arthur Avenue in the Bronx,
Wow.
Staten Island, and she did it in Little Italy in Cleveland. And I was just thinking that this is something that could be taken all your Italian neighborhoods, like Little Italy, Arthur Avenue,
Sure.
Cleveland, Chicago,
Hoboken.
Yeah.
Atlantic
These
City,
are, you know, and dinner theaters like what they have. We did it in Cleveland, in a place called Nino's, and it's a big restaurant,
Yeah.
and it was wonderful. But I'm thinking something
Well, you
like this.
haven't seen yet Frank
No.
and Ava, and you're welcome anytime. But it's a little bit a dinner theater feel because it's in a bar.
Well, I know.
So
I
people are
remember
drinking
that
while
years
they're-
ago.
It's really great.
Yeah.
But I, as a director, I mean, my desire is to make it bigger and better, you know, and that's with money, production, you know, set design, lighting, costumes, you know, make it bigger.
Oh.
You know, I mean, if you're going to redo something, redo it. You know, I mean, the story's still there. The story is Frank, and Rico's great as Frank Sinatra, so that the main ingredient's there, so you might as well have fun.
Well, what's some of the things that's gone on doing performances that weren't supposed to be on things like that?
People knocking at the back door, lawnmower machines going, holy
And
crap, the
how do
ice
you-
machine going, I'm like, what the fuck?
Well,
If I was on stage, I would have threw a fit, and I'm the director going, if I was on stage, I would have threw a fit. I would have said, turn off the fucking ice machine.
there you go. But it's definitely a show that's actually generated very emotional response from the audience. I mean, there's the older crowd that remember him and they really react in certain ways. And actually, we had a bunch of women from the Sons of Italy came last week, and they said we would have thrown our underwear. But then they probably smother you because they're so big.
And they were adorable with me. They said, are you Italian? And I said, no, I'm Mexican and Irish. They go, equals Italian.
So, no, it's been good. It's
Well, you do look Italian. Your last name almost sounds Italian.
Yeah.
no, it's great. Like I said, a lot of people who actually knew Frank have been coming to see the show.
That's
and
great.
They've been really connecting with it. And one of them, I remember, she lived with him for 4 months out in the desert, and she said Frank in his mind was a jailhouse lawyer and a mob guy. He'd wake up every morning reading law books and reading and using big words, and I would try to get him to take me out, and he'd look at me and says, why don't you go lay by the pool, I'm busy. And he'd sit there and read. And so she said, you better not play him too nice, because he wasn't that nice to me. But he did give me a Cadillac when he broke up from me. So she had lovely parting gifts. But and then another one of my another friend of mine, she actually worked on a big film with him, where he actually walked off the set a month into production because Ava had a fight with him and flew back to Spain. So he quit the movie to go to Spain to run after Ava, and this actress was actually an Academy Award-winning actress. Said we sat there shocked. Like, he comes in one day, he looks at the cameras and he's trying to find an excuse. He says, "What's that camera over there?" "Well, that's our new Panavision." "I didn't agree to Panavision. I'm out of here." And he walked out, and they had to reshoot the movie for the whole month, and it became a big opportunity for another actor. But only because Ava, because of her, he's just like, he was so crazy in love with her. Yeah.
There's nothing like, that's, the most powerful weapon in the world is right there sitting next to you.
I would say more like a set of weapons.
Yes, nice set of weapons. Many a country's houses, bank accounts have gone up there.
That's true. That's true. The Spanish Armada met its fate because Philip couldn't have Elizabeth.
That's right. It's unbelievable. Yeah, the Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor stories. But that's really wonderful that you're getting all. That must really make you feel proud, though, and good as an actor.
Yeah.
Bringing back the memories to all these people in the audience that knew Francis, and
Yeah, that's really something. And one audience member, he met me backstage. He looks at me, he says, "You're tall." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You look, I swear to God, on stage you look like you were 5'8". You were like, I saw you as the short Frank on stage. But you're tall. I'm not. So he was whatever I'm doing. He kind of bought so much. He saw me as a shorter person. So.
Well, I hope you do put this on tape and
Yeah, Rico's had it. A few people come and film it live, but I'm actually planning to put it on 3 cameras so we can,
That's
just have a nice tape of it. Yeah. So.
And where do you go from here? What do you want to do? I mean, beside, touring with this. I mean, let's go back to, why did you want to become an actor, Rico?
It was asking that question. You know, it's something that chooses me. I mean, I was always, you know, you grew up in a crazy Italian family. You're always very expressive. You're always very emotive. And the joke I tell is the first time I had to act was when a bunch of guys were looking for my father because he owed money. And he says, "Hey, where's your father?" And I sat there bawling in tears and saying, "I haven't seen him in 3 days." So you learn how to act at a young age.
That's true.
I haven't seen him in
So and he's upstairs hiding, of course, but no. No, it's. So when I was a kid, I used to watch old movies with my mom because my dad would be out. You know, my dad was hanging out with the guys, and he'd come home at sunrise, and we'd watch all the black and whites. So my mom would sit next to me. We'd watch Clark Gable and Tyrone Power, and she started telling me all the stories, and I was so drawn in that these people, or Robert Mitchum, would be able to affect me just by being on screen. And there's something about doing that always appealed to me. But I was like a fat kid with glasses, so I thought nobody would ever want to watch me. And somehow, as I grew up, you know, I kind of got the idea that maybe I could perform as opposed to write. Cause I love theater. I read Chekhov. I read. You know, I went to a Jesuit high school, so you had to read all the classics, and so I was well versed in Ibsen. And as I grew and put contact lenses on, I said, "Hey, maybe I could be on stage. Maybe I could actually recite, perform," and that's how it happened. And people have encouraged me along the way, you know. And it's been an interesting journey. I mean, from even coming out to LA and meeting guys like TJ Castronovo, who I met him and I basically was treating his heart, and he said to me, "I got to play for you. You got to play." So it's been a great journey that way. So.
But I think, just from directing Rico, that he should be concentrating on film. You know, he's got a face for film, for sure.
Hey, from your lips to God's ears.
You know, he's done a lot of theater, which is great, you know, in terms of training and craft, but he should be in film.
Well, on that note, we're going to stop here at part 1, and then we're going to come back and do part 2.
All right.
All right? Because we're just about running out of time, and I don't want to do that.
Runs